without further ado, I'm kind of noticing we've got some people trickling in, and I am seeing some people saying they're watching through Facebook. Let's get on to our big workshop, our big topic of this week. So in this video, guys, we're going to be talking about scribing. What is scribing? Some people call it manifestation journaling. Some people call it spiritual journaling. Some people call it spiritual bulleting. Some people call it light grounding. Why is that a big deal? What does it actually do? How does it actually serve our purposes? And we're also going to be talking about maybe changing some of our habits when it comes to the way we write. We do live in a world where writing and texting and posting does actually co-create a reality. And as far as what is happening there, usually it always ends up coming back mostly on the author's experience. And that's kind of something we got to pay attention to. If it's coming back to the author's reality experience, then it might not be something that you want to have frozen or static or closed in writing all the time. So we want to make sure that we know how to write what we want to write and be honest with what we feel and speak our truth, but do it in a way that actually serves us and, of course, in the highest interest of all concerned, only creates and co-creates a reality that is actually considered, well, a savory or enjoyable experience. Now, if you guys all have journals, that's great, but I honestly recommend that you do find something, if you choose to journal, a book that does have some kind of significance to you. I like this one because it definitely speaks to a side of myself that I don't necessarily bring out very much, but definitely more of this fantastical, very much more than my usual like fantasy, hey Gandalf kind of stuff. Very trippy, sort of the world I go to, so to speak, before I go to bed kind of energy. Find something that actually does hold that space for you, whatever speaks to your most true and consistent nature. Getting a spiral bound notebook is okay for now, but we're going to be talking about working with these things. We're going to be talking about giving them energy. And we're going to be talking about how to charge them, how to, clear any kind of distorted energies that might come upon them, and how to actually make them work just beyond writing something down and having it sitting on a special table. And so if you are going to go out and shop for a journal, you don't have to break the bank on it, but maybe you want to give yourself, maybe a little $15, $16 treasure to work with there. It's relatively inexpensive, or if something that you like is inaccessible, get something that's going to just simply work for you. When it comes to these kinds of journals, to be perfectly honest, I don't think it's a good idea to have something that is made of animal product. There's a piece of complex consciousness there, okay? When you talk about using animal products, this is not about what your spiritual path or practice is, but animal products themselves have a very special resonance, and they actually have memories. They have links back to complex consciousness. When we talk about complex consciousness, we're talking about something that held an ego at some point in time. There's a difference between plants and animals in that way. So when we're talking about working with things like paper and plant products, they don't really have egos. They're working in more of a collective consciousness, and it's not going to hold all of the complexities, maybe all of the mental or emotional programs that were going on in that being. And so when you have animal product, you've got to be careful about that. Make sure that you don't let yourself accidentally start bonding a lot of that energy, to that old program, not to mention the trauma of whatever was going on before they got turned into leather, right? So it is kind of smart to pay attention to what you're doing with your product there. But also at the same time, just traditionally, when it comes to animal parts and animal products themselves, I mean, as you know, I have deer antlers. Now, deer antlers are shed every year. It's not like those were taken off a deer against its will or anything along those lines. They were found, they were shed antlers. But anyway, when it comes to that anyway, though, animal products will absorb and hold energy. And they don't tend to project so much as they draw, hold, and color what energy goes through that in their own image. And so it's important to, if you've got a leather-bound journal, it's okay, but no judgment. But you might want to think about just getting something else to do your best shot here, to get your best shot here. So we don't want to necessarily be spending too much time working with animal products with things that are supposed to be expanding, right? Because when we are expanding things out, we're sending things out, having things that are holding energy and grounding energy and holding energy into itself, it's not conducive to what we're doing. So going on from there, why bother doing this at all? Why bother writing? Why bother any of it? Well, the reason bullet journaling and scribing and alchemical writing and light grounding is so effective is because what you're doing is you are creating a reality, creating an experience, you are creating an illustration, or in this case, writing a story that is actually going to have energy pass through it as we go through all kinds of energetic ups, energetic breezes, different kinds of astrological alignments, changes with the earth itself, rises and falls in the Schumann resonance, all kinds of things that are basically going to be passing energy that is just there to be creative. It's going to pass through this. And we also have this now being a code, or I guess you could say, a program or a potential in our reality that when grounded in the physical is actually easier to tap into and take energy from and give energy to than if it's in the sloshing, crazy mind that is, of course, going to be bombarded with distractions and other priorities all the time. It's going to be holding on to an experience that is actually written into it and provide that experience, much like a crystal would, to its immediate environment. When we are writing down our intentions, writing down the experience that we are actually having in this now moment in terms of what we would like to have, not always just what we see over there, but writing down the experience that we wish to have, writing down the experience that we wish to create, and in putting that feeling and that illustration in the book, you can even draw if you don't want to write, then what you're having is an imprint that is something that can be expanded upon down the road. And so its light will shine, its light will color the environment and put its energy out into everything. Just a little bit. Now, of course, it's not necessarily going to be like, well, I wrote it in the book, now just wait. It doesn't quite happen that way. We want to make sure that we are not only paying attention to what we're writing in the book, but how we are actually empowering and supplementing the energy from this book. What I like to do is first dedicate. Once I am done writing down what I like, writing down what I want, writing down the experiences that I want to have, I actually get into my own personal ceremony, or you might just want to get into a meditative state, get into a state where, again, your energy is raised, expansive, and just feed the book. We're just going to feed the book energy, and you can just program it that way. I like to actually write things in the book that are also telling the book what to do. In fact, I'll tell you what's here on my first page, where I basically say exactly what the book is for. And I say, whatsoever be written upon the pages of this book, so too is the reality experience of the one who wrote it. As it is written upon the page, so it is. Whatsoever is written and remains within the binds of this book, so too is that reality maintained for its respective author. So it is. So I can also take things out and have that go away. So you might want to think about, okay, how do I empower my book? You want to charge it with candles? Great. You want to have a special crystal that's kind of dusty. If you can't see dust coming and flying around every time I move the book. It's not dusty because I don't work with the book. It's dusty because I keep it in a dusty place and cover it with incense. But I feed it incense, right? I charge it with incense. I pray. I rest crystals on top of it. I might set a crystal grid on top of it. But what I'm doing is the more I imbue this book with energy, the more it starts to create these subtle changes in my reality experience. And I've been doing this for about a good while now, actually. This book I've only had for a month, but I've been noticing even with the book I've had for a month, things are starting to alter very subtly, very slowly, very safely, and things are dissolving that need to get dissolved, and things are being, I guess, replaced by what is going in the book, in my reality experience. So when it comes to making those kinds of shifts and holding those kinds of shifts, we want to be smart about what we put in our book. Some people look at journaling as an opportunity for affirmations. I think writing things in terms of affirmations is a great idea, but you want to be smart about how you're writing your affirmations. If you are writing affirmations that are maybe include bits of judgment, self-judgment, or imposing on other people's free will, or anything that is attracting a replication of a reality experience you don't want to have, don't do it. Okay, if you are writing like a Facebook rant or a rage post, don't do it. Don't do it, because this is going to take, remember, any big spikes of energy that go on in this reality experience, in this realm, right? Again, Schumann resonance spikes, big astrological events, eclipses, things like that are going to be feeding into this book as well, not just you. Do you really want to have a rage post be what's empowered to be your new reality experience, or to elongate a reality experience you don't want? No. Do we want that to be about the Facebook rant? No. In fact, I often ask people, what are you doing with your Facebook posts? What are you doing with your tweets? What are you doing with the comments you post on social media, any social media? Before I post something, I always ask myself, imagine, if you will, that everyone reading that post is saying, and so it is. So be it. Ditto. Amen. Really has changed the way I write. Now, of course, that might be something that some people don't have a good habit with. And I don't want people to think that I'm judging them for that, but just pay attention. You know, when you're going in to type it out, it might not necessarily always serve to keep things in such a public way. When people observe things, people see things, they are pushing their energy towards it as well. And if it's static and frozen and things like that on social media, well, there's going to be a lot of external wills, maybe not willingly, but still inadvertently and passively directing energy to what you just wrote down. And that could cause more problems for you. Even if you think you're saying this about somebody else, you think you're saying it about something else that you see, what's actually happening is that energy is getting directed in a funny way. It's getting directed in a way where it's like, this is what this person sees. This is the reality experience this person is having, and so it is. This is the reality experience this person is having. 50 likes, 50 thumbs up, 50 dittos, 50 amens, 50 so mote it be's, 50 so it is. It's always going to come back to the author. Let's talk about what is a good way to write versus maybe what's not so much a good way to write. Intentions and our desires, and work on creating that reality experience for ourselves. Okay, so let's I'll give you an example of mine, and I'll find one that's not like deeply personal and we'll talk about that. All right, so let's talk about, let's see, just give me a sec, everybody. All right. That's a bit trippy. I get kind of imaginative when it comes to my bullet journaling, you know, because I also understand that this is also going to be as above, so below, all is one. It is going to affect, again, the reality experience that's just going on here on Earth. I do kind of write things in that I'd like to see shift for the world as well. I don't name names ever, by the way. I only make it about myself and any pets in my care. But when I write down things like, I live in a reality where those who have transitioned from their carbon-based body vehicles and incarnation may be consciously seen, heard, and felt and touched, if they prefer it, or consent to it, of course, by whoever they would wish that contact with. So it is. Get nuts. Okay, let's talk about something that's a little bit more real-world grounded here. Let's talk about some, well, that was real-world grounded as well, so who knows what 2020 is going to bring. But let's talk about something that people would be more interested in, or what a lot of people might find more relatable, at least in this now moment as I'm recording this video. Okay, how about this? I am so abundant with wealth and resources that if I choose, I may provide for whatever purpose either I or others may embark on. So it is. Let's see here. Living situation. I live in a house where all inhabitants are supportive, complementary, caring, mindful, creative, spiritually active, and loving inclusions to one another's life path and reality experience. So it is. Changes that are in accordance with my highest, most optimum, and most optimal trajectories and outcomes occur swiftly and smoothly. So it is. So you're not writing things down as though they're in the past tense. You're not writing them in the future tense. You are writing them in the present tense. One of the biggest things that I think a lot of people make mistakes with is that, yes, in a lot of cases, they do write in the future tense, so they're constantly waiting. But also writing things in the past tense is not always the wisest thing to do. Because what can sometimes happen is that you'll get it really quickly and then it'll go away. Writing things in the past tense was kind of like a big sort of law of attraction trick for a while in the early 20 teens. But again, when you say something has come and gone, sure, it has to come to go. But the energy that says it's going away is also grounded in that experience. So write it in the present and just leave it in the present. And you don't have to go crazy, super spiritual, abstract. You just know, you know me, I'm just nuts that way. You can, of course, talk about things that you want to manifest that are also, you know, maybe more about, your quality of life. So here's another discussion of a physical move. And I'm not worried about saying this out loud on video. I mean, it doesn't have to be kept like a super secret. Okay, it doesn't have to, because I always clear and reset this stuff anyway. And again, it's affecting whoever wrote in it, as I wrote on the first page. I reside in a house that is a safe, loving, secure, peaceful, healthy, and accommodating space, both energetically and socially, for both myself and any and all pets in my care. So it is. I live in a house where all inhabitants are supportive, complementary, caring, mindful, creative, spiritually active, and loving inclusions to one of those life path and reality experience. So it is. So I kind of wrote the same thing, and then I added to it, and then I wrote the same thing again to kind of give context, I guess you could say spiritually, to what I mean when I say those things. You might want to think about doing that as well, because sometimes when people say abundance, they don't really get clear on their intention of what abundance is. Is it an abundance of material wealth? Is it an abundance of friends? Is it an abundance of work? Is it an abundance of cats? You know, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? Get specific, get creative. And then you can start to play with what you've written in your book. For instance, I will take some of the phrases that I write in this book and I will perhaps write them on a candle, right? I will copy an entire passage from this book onto the candle, and guess what? Now we have two new things holding space for that particular intention, for that particular vibration. And as you've heard me say about candles before, when it comes to candles, properly charged, properly energetically, programmed. You do that in a meditative state. You can call on your guides. You can call on your higher self, your multidimensional self, however you want to work with that. What happens is that you've now got this pushing out, right? And overriding and overwriting, as my unofficial mentor, Sandra Walter, would say, all reality experiences that might be contrary to that for you. Now, what happens there is a lot of people might think, okay, well, is this going to affect other people? Is this going to go against other people's free will? Not really, because, well, it could just as easily pluck me out of the situation that I'm in and put me in a situation that matches it. We are leaving it open to change in that way. The second you decide that you want to put something against another person's will when it comes to this kind of magic and this kind of work and this kind of scribing, you're pretty much in a situation where you're constantly be doing a tug of war. Because the strongest vibration wins. We always know that, right? The strongest vibration wins, but also at the same time, looking at what else is going on, all of this is going to be working together, right? We're not writing things that contradict each other in here. I hope you wouldn't. Everything here has got to kind of get ready to create for you. We're creating all of these new things in your reality experience. If you're going against another person's free will, well, you're wasting your time. You've got your energy is going out there. It's not really going to be complementary to anything else. If part of your intention is to control what another person does, and say something like, I don't know, Sharon is madly in love with me, and now we run off to go get married, and whatever. And Sharon doesn't want you. Sharon's not interested in getting married. What's going to end up happening is that you're going to find yourself in a situation where all of that energy is basically working on trying to negate what is occurring right now. And none of it's actually creating anything new. It's going to create a pattern of being stuck. So we don't want to go about it that way. If you are curious about love and romance and all of that, my companion, partner, and lover and I don't know what we're going to call ourselves, so I just threw it all out there, are mutually enchanting and enhancing to and for one another, inspiring, uplifting, supporting, and loving. And so it is. And then I go into some more, again, personal stuff in there, but I make sure to only be talking about the things that I want to have as my regular experience. If you haven't noticed, I'm not bitching about something I don't want, and I'm not trying to have a therapy moment with this book. This is a journaling book. You are creating what you want to create. I think about that scene in Sleeping Beauty where the two fairies are fighting over the color of, what's Sleeping Beauty's princess's name? Her dress. Anyway, they're fighting over the color of her dress. And one's saying, I want it to be pink, and the other one's like, I want it to be blue. So this is kind of like that. Think of this as I'm just changing the color. I'm just changing the color. I'm not affirming what something is now, bleaching it and turning it another color. I am just turning it into something else. Overriding and overwriting my reality experience. And in my case, I guess any pets in my care, but I'm allowed to do that because they would want to come with me anyway. And go with it. When I talk about, living situations that accommodate my pets, of course, I want to make sure I could do that. And I always say any pets in my care because I might want to get more. It's about doing something and setting up a creation that is ultimately going to start coming into being the moment you've written it down and begun charging and working with it. Now, if you feel like something needs a bit of a push, charge your book. Feed your book. Well, maybe I'll burn a candle in a dish near it, or I will focus on just praying with it or meditate with it for a half hour or something like that. Maybe I will make a day of the week, or maybe a couple of days during the week where I will get into, again, a ceremonial state, and I will clear, right? I will ask and I will just command, and I'll say, like, I call forth, the highest divine light of source consciousness, or I call in the highest divine light of source, or my higher self, or my multidimensional self, or my highest expression. Clear, dissolve, and negate and neutralize any and all distortions and lower vibrational energies and lower densities from this book and all creations in this book, and infuse it with the highest form of light intelligence that is applicable to this journey. And what will happen is you'll also start to notice, okay, things are moving, things are getting on the move. As soon as I started writing about new living situations, there's been a very interesting shift in, well, okay, Nico, you want a new living situation, you're going to have to see how this is going to go around. This is not going to be a new place that you're going to find in Seattle. And because what you're looking for that matches all of these requisites that you've already written in here isn't in Seattle. Okay, so it's like, okay, not in Seattle, I got to be open to it. What parameters you give for your reality will ultimately start pulling you in the direction of that reality. If you assert limitations, you're going to have limitations. And you don't want that at all. So I was just going to reach out and see if anyone had questions about scribing and what needs to be done. If you're curious about how that's going to work forward, you can, if you want, write them in short bullets so that you can turn them into, affirmations or mantras for yourself if you want. I don't have anything that short because I'm a fairly verbose person. But also at the same time, maybe you don't want to do it that way. Now, you don't have to write the story over and over and over again either. That's the thing. I don't think that writing the same thing and copy and paste over and over again is always good, because, yeah, it does something for your subconscious mind. But when it comes to moving the energy, if you're so good at memorizing what's going on, you're listening to something on your phone. You're not engaged, or there's a high likelihood you're not going to get engaged. Find a new way to write it down. Find a new way to recreate it, and just watch things shift. Also, get into alignment. Get into alignment with what you have written in this book, right? You have to be in alignment. Remember that alignment and resonance video that I put up? You have to change yourself to match the reality that you want to have. I think that people kind of miss that step. If I want to attract, create, and have a reality experience that encompasses all of these things, I need to match that vibration in my thoughts, in my actions, in my words, in how I keep my life, how I take care of myself, how I conduct my business, how I might, change the way I handle the way I live. Think about it this way. Using an example of, the living situation, right? Okay, I'm looking for this perfect complementary inclusion, mutual across the board. I want to live in, it's either going to be like it's going to be a wonderful community, and we've got all these great people, and everyone's spiritually active, and everyone's working on the highest vibe possible, and they're all very spiritually practiced and spiritually active, and they're all, we're all on the same level, so to speak. That's where it is. And again, complementary inclusions. So when I say complementary inclusions, that means I have to be a complementary inclusion to them as well. I need to put myself in a situation where I am also enhancing the quality of life that they have. It's not all about me, because I've already included anonymous. So I'm not, imposing on anyone's free will, but I've included people in that intention, because it might be an intentional community. It might be a lodge. It might be a cabin. It might be just a neighborhood, right? In a spiritual community or spiritual town. I need to make sure that, what's going on around me that's making that work or not work. Pay attention to what I'm doing with my magic, right? What am I doing with my energy, the energy that I'm holding, the energy I'm sending towards people, the energy I'm calling in towards myself, the energy I'm imbuing my environment with my thoughts, actions, deeds, and emotions, with my ritual, with my spiritual practice. How am I keeping How am I keeping my home? Paying attention to maybe who I include in my space, who I hold space for in my life. It's what I carry for them. You know, do I want to carry lesser realities? Do I want to carry looping realities? Do I want to contribute to them? All of this is on you to change into alignment with. You create the reality you want to experience. You ground it, right? You bring it into the physical in the very, very beginning with just writing it down, and then you get into alignment with it. You change your life. Okay, this is what I ask everyone to think about when they talk about manifestation work, when they come and get readings from me. If what you're asking for showed up tomorrow morning, what would be greeting them? What would be greeting them? And it goes beyond cleaning the house. What would be ready to greet them? Are you prepared to take that trip? Are your affairs in order in that way? Are you in a way that is going to actually have room, space, and support for the romance that you want to have? Because what happens is a lot of people want to dictate the process. They want to say, no, I'm not ready, or I'm not, but they should show up and we'll get there together. No, honey. No, you don't do that. Not that way. The process will be there, absolutely. But you got to be in alignment with what you want. Okay, we got to get into alignment with the experience we want to have. It's a flow and it's a feeling. We don't get what we want and then work on getting into alignment with it. That doesn't work. We don't work on what we want. We don't try and manifest the job we want and then suddenly learn how to earn the money, right? It's kind of like, nobody's going to hire me to be a cardiologist and then have me go get ready to perform as a cardiologist before I get the qualifications to do it, before I'm in alignment with that experience. Nobody wants me doing that. I don't want to do that. Gross. But also, scary, right? We have to be in alignment with it. Okay, I have to get into alignment with it. And how do I get into alignment with it? Okay, I start keeping the life I have now in the way I would keep the life I want to have. I don't wait to suddenly change the vibration I put into my reality until I get what I want. I'll never get it that way. So when you have your book, it's always good to pay attention, come back and check. All right, sure, I've got whatsoever be written upon the pages of this book, so too is the reality experience of the one who wrote it. As it is upon the page, so it is. It's not going to override and overwrite all the energy in the world, right? I do need to get into alignment with it. I charge this, I power it up. I also amplify it by bringing in other tools, right? I might write down what I want on a piece of paper, put a crystal grid on top of it and charge that. I continue to get into alignment, though. I want to be a match. If you don't match the vibe of what you're trying to create, then you're not really going to create exactly what you think it is. It's either going to get a bit distorted or it's going to go in another direction. Now, there are ways that we can kind of get closer to that vibration, right? That's what magic is all about. When we talk about the correspondences of planets, we talk about herbs, we talk about crystals. They all carry energy signatures that are complementary to certain experiences more so than others. So if you are trying to say, maybe find a way to get into a school program that you want. So we focus on yellows, we focus on, for color energy, we focus on different types of maybe opportunities to use crystals, or maybe you want to wear certain oils for intellectual pursuits or access, road opening. Lemongrass is good. Mercurial herbs like clary sage are great. Or maybe you want to work with maybe ginkgo or something like that. Maybe get like a ginkgo biloba oil, rub that on a candle. Sure, okay, you're allowed to get yourself a better opportunity in scholarship. All of those things work for travel as well. But what you might want to think about is, Am I a match? Pay attention to what you're bringing into your space. What have I been saying the last couple of weeks? Your in-group is manifesting your reality more so than any out-group. And that's true. Is that in alignment with what you got going on in here? Pay attention. Minimize time that you spend in circles where people are grounding things digitally and physically that are not good, that are not complementary to your experience, that are detrimental to the reality you want to have. Get out of digital echo chambers where people are constantly affirming toxicity and dysfunction, disharmony, and distortion. Remember, imagine writing something digitally online and then having everyone go, amen, ditto, so mote it be, so it is, after everything that you say. And then realizing that, no, it's not so mote it be about the world. It's so mote it be about that author's experience. If Mark says, I live in a shitty country, okay, so it is. Mark lives in a shitty country. Problem. Whether or not he's right subjectively or objectively about the country he's in, everyone says, and so it is. If Mark actually decided to up and move, he would always find a shitty country, right? Or at least that's the energy that's supporting that experience. Now, of course, as we develop our mastery and we develop actually learning how to control our environment and our reality experience, we can detach from that. We can, make sure that that is, again, overridden by the vibrant energy that we're holding. But in the beginning steps, maybe it's a good idea to curtail that a little bit. Maybe it's a good idea to make sure that that's not always something that you're doing. It's hard because we live in a world where sometimes the social media venting or the rage posts are a form of therapy that is, or a form of therapeutic experience, or at least therapeutic release for people that they've become very accustomed to. If you have to write something negative, or you have to write something that is perhaps not desirable in your reality experience, my advice would be, well, take a step back, see if I can do this in a way where I am writing it in a way where it is in transit, right? Where it is leaving. You can write that in the past tense. This was bullshit and it's gone. Completely dissolved, neutralized, beyond recall, right? That's where you can go with that. You are acknowledging the dissolvement of it. Or you can go even further. You can say, may all distortion, static, lesser realities, such as blah, 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 be completely dissolved, neutralized, and replaced with blah, 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 blah. And so it is. When it comes to digital communications, the way people write is interesting because I've had friends have challenges on YouTube, and on Facebook and on Twitter. And one of the things I kind of notice is the people who have negative reality experiences show up because of what's posted beneath them. It actually comes more from the person believing it about themselves and co-creating that reality. But what I've also noticed is that I know friends who've, suffered the same reality they've written about somebody they don't like. Especially if that rage post or that comment picked up a lot of speed. Picked up, and started a snowball. We are in a very interesting space in 2020 where, again, everything has more pull. As I've been saying this whole time, since that talk with Raphael, the energies that are vibing up now are no longer working at the pace of the slowest beings among us, and it's actually amping up towards the intermediate, which means to amp up, we need to step it up. Know the difference between taking it slowly for self-care and taking it slowly to be lazy. I was just going to see before I get ready to close this part up, I'm not closing the video, but before I step in to regular old Q&A mode, I was going to see if anyone had anything they wanted to ask about bullet journaling itself. I have not seen a lot of comments or questions come through on Facebook. I'm looking here on Patreon now, and I am seeing a couple of folks. What about journaling electronically? Well, I think it's okay, but to be perfectly honest, journaling electronically itself or electronic data is not really good for holding energy beyond what it is, right? Because I can clear this book, I can charge this book, I can empower this book, cleanse it, purge it, however you want to do it. You can do that with digital work. I do charge all my videos before I post them public. And so that is possible to do, but I find that there's a certain type of removal from the act of typing to getting your energy there. I like to have physical contact. Personally, I want everything to have physical contact together. That's the most natural chi energy moving through you, right? It's going through you, through your pen, through your pencil, and into the paper. It's tangible. It's tactile. You're going to get more energy into it than you could pushing your energy into something that already is carrying a lot of electromagnetic radiation. You're probably only going to get a certain percentage of what you're trying to charge into your piece anyway. I'm not saying don't bother, right? Better than nothing. But I would definitely recommend getting yourself also physical copies or physical opportunities with your work as well. Maybe write down, again, if you want to have your digital draft, sure, but then go get a book. Or again, maybe with your candles, write down your passages of what you want. Find a complementary color, right? If like I was talking about before, if somebody wanted to get into a certain school, a certain graduate school program or something like that, apply for scholarships, however they wanted to go. Or again, something loftier, something crazier. I encourage people to go bigger than just living manifestation to manifestation to manifestation. I mean, create an entire experience. But if that's what they wanted to have, maybe find something complementary like yellow. If you'll notice, I'm not actually working on living manifestation to manifestation. Everything here is actually more of a dictation of the quality of life. Learn to phrase things in a way where you are describing the life experience that you are living every day. Learn to phrase things in a way where it's not a closed statement, but it's also not so wide and so nebulous that it could mean anything. So that's what I got there. Journals. And it's okay to write things down for other people if you are doing it in a way that is kind and considerate. We're not trying to block them or control their free will. But if you wanted to write something down here, let's say, again, I wrote something about my pets. My pets are safe, protected, and healthy in body, mind, and spirit, and always kept in a space that is accommodating, loving, and comfortable for them. And of course, they are always, and may they always find a safe place and a home wherever I reside. That is fine. That is totally fine, right? They're already in my care and they want to be with me. You might adjust that if you're sending, I don't recommend writing a book and, for yourself. This should be your life. Don't make it about other people. One or two people, fine. It's okay. Or one or two passages, fine. But writing your entire life experience, because then you're just going to run energy through it. You don't want that energy dispersing all over the place. Okay. Well, guys, it's been fun here. I think that this might be something to kind of come back to maybe at a later date. I do want to say thank you to everyone who has shown up for the live. I really do appreciate it. I am going to actually take a second here. I'm going to just make a little note about what the time here is. Now, remember, this video is going to get edited to go up on YouTube. And so I'm just going to make a note of when we stopped to get ready for Q&A. So what we're going to do is we're going to go take a 5-minute break. I'm just going to leave it on here and come back and do Q&A. It could be about anything. It could be about scribing. And remember, this portion is not, the Q&A portion is not going to go on YouTube. I already planned that out. So let's have at it in 5 minutes. But thank you so much for, joining me and hanging out. Thank you very much. I do want to kind of make this more of a regular thing here on Patreon, where we don't just have a Q&A and it's just a free-for-all. I want to have topics of discussion. It'll also help keep me on task when it comes to putting out videos that are more than just horoscopes. So that's always a big priority for me, for those of you that really know me. And don't forget, next chat is actually happening this month. We are going to be doing at least one a month, but I figured January I would be able to pull off 2. And the next video or the next live chat is actually going to be about healing crises and how to deal with the healing crises, what is going on with the healing crisis, why it might be showing up in your life. And that's going to be on Sunday, January 19th. Okay, so that is a week from today, same time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And again, if you are interested in bringing friends, or you think somebody might enjoy this, it's only $1 minimum per month to have access to this kind of stuff. And the more you pledge, the more discounts you get on my services. So that's it. There you go. But thank you so much for stopping by, everybody. And for all of you on YouTube who are watching this after recording, thank you so much for sitting through. I can't wait to come back with more live chats and more discussions. And if anyone ever has any kind of idea of what they might want to hear me talk about, or they want something to be disambiguated, feel free to drop me a note on Patreon, and I would be happy to look that over and see what we could do. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody. We're going to take our 5, and then we'll be back and be doing our Q&A.